Hello, everybody. My name is Ed Hughes. I'm a senior risk engineering consultant with Zurich on the West Coast, operating out of Sacramento, but basically going everywhere like the rest of us. I wanted to introduce Titan HST. It's a program I ran across last year while servicing some hospitality accounts. And it's something that's very timely right now, considering what's going on and considering the wave of personal identification and personal emergency location that's going on with the hospitality and industrial and medical professions. So real briefly, the presenter for this will be Vic Marigian. He is the founder and the CEO of Titan Health and Security Technologies Incorporated. The platform they use is ideal for business continuity during all kinds of emergencies and is deployed at all verticals. And when they go through the introduction and the demonstrations, you'll see it's pretty amazing system. One quick note is that in 2019, Titan HST platform was used for over 200 million views or emergency responses, emergency actions, messages. So it's a pretty amazing system. And they'll be able to give you some real life examples that'll really show you how it can help all types of industries. That's basically about it. I don't want to take up much of their time. And at the very end of this, after they give their presentation, we'll have time for some questions and answers that will be available for anybody that has anything they want to throw at them. So I'll throw it over now to Vic.
Sounds great, Ed. Thank you for the introduction. And good morning, all. I hope everyone's week is going as well as can be in these kind of odd times. So what I'm going to do is give just a quick high-level overview of Titan HST. And then my colleague Serene, going to be one of our VPs, is going to be jumping in with a quick demo of the platform so you can see it in use. So if I take a step back, Titan HST is essentially an emergency two-way communication platform. And there are a number of things that make it really unique. And we've got some pretty cool customers that we'll talk about in a minute and some use cases. So when you come to the emergency communication market, largely it's a one-way push notification system, which is fine, but it takes a while to get information to the top for them to then send information out to everyone. And those systems have historically taken hours or days to get through. Common examples being during the California wildfire. Some of our top competitors took 2.5 hours to push out 2,500 notifications. There's a lot of business in a lot of cities that are bigger than 2,500 people. And 2.5 hours for that is pretty, pretty crazy. Our system was able to push out hundreds of thousands and at some sites millions where it was needed instantly. So the first piece of the pie is that, we've built a system that, first of all, is accessible across pretty much everything. It's accessible via iPhone, Android, iPad. Also, though, via text message, email, web, social media, and phone. So we'll catch you every which way. Then, when it comes to notifications, we're much faster and way more secure, actually also being independently audited by one of the companies that also audits the FBI and CIA for data security. On top of that, we are far more accessible than competing systems. Other systems, if you read their accessibility statements, it's just a bunch of exceptions. Our system is so accessible for people who are hearing and visually impaired that we actually hold the contract with the California Department of Education for the schools for the deaf and blind in the state. So that's the level of accessibility we have. And when we dive into a little more of it, because we're a tech company at heart, there's some stuff that we do that's really, really cool. So apples to apples, we're faster and more reliable than anyone else at that one-way push notification. But we do so much more. We, first of all, have two-way communication, and we have location-based services. You can find and map where people are in real time. Now, we don't ever track anyone without their consent because we are privacy by design. We also never share the data. We don't sell the data. But if you opt in during an emergency, you can share your safety status and your location. So we can find you, and by we, meaning specifically the site administrators and security teams, and send responses accordingly. Now, the other thing that's really cool is if we go one step further than the apples to apples comparison, we've got a few features that we actually hold over a dozen core patents on. And those things include augmented reality, which allows you to see through walls, smoke, and fire to find where people are. We've got real-time translation across 13 different languages. So we're able to bridge language. And perhaps the cool thing behind all of this is one of our technologies called dual channel mesh networking. That allows phones to talk directly from device to device to device to device, even when cell networks and Wi-Fi networks are overloaded, out of range, down, or inaccessible. So we literally work where nothing else works. Our technology is so cool that we hold a number of high-profile contracts. If you go into entertainment venues and stadiums, we also, if you go to the hospitality sector, have key contracts, including profile companies like Tropicana Casinos, where other systems not only did not work, but where they had panic buttons, they couldn't even find the floor that the panic button was triggering. We were able to deploy them in under 48 hours when we took over the contract. We were able to find them down to the exact room and floor that they're in. And our panic buttons work where no other panic button does using our mesh technology. So it even works in areas like back of the house or in rooms where cell networks and Wi-Fi are kind of suspect. So that is a very high level overview of our platform. It's the most robust two-way communication system out there, completely customizable, faster and more secure than anything else, more accessible than anything else, and works where nothing else works. At a high level, this system has allowed us to save our life within 20 minutes of deployment. We have helped housekeepers and other people, including in hotels. Some of our panic buttons have been reprogrammed to ADA buttons that they've given to guests. So we've been able to reduce liability exposure by finding people down to the room and floor immediately, including some sites have even pre-programmed. If you take a look on the screen right here, you can see there are those 9 different icons that you can select, which are all customizable, by the way. Some of the hotel clients have actually programmed those as one of them is a Narcan button. So we've been able to help people who've overdosed quickly get help directly to Narcan to prevent death. We've worked where 911 dispatch panels have failed. We've worked where cell networks have gone down. In fact, our technology is so cool and so resilient, and we are the only private entity, meaning only non-governmental entity, who has hardware. We've got these mesh networking gateways that fill in if the phones are not close enough, that get priority access. So with that, I'm going to ask Serene to dive into a quick demo. She'll also give some real-time examples of ways the system has been used when highlighting certain features. And then from there, we'll dive into a Q&A.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as Vic mentioned, the system is extremely robust. We have a lot of different features, many of which have actually been requested by our customers. However, the system is extremely customizable. So everything you see here, you can think of it like Legos. You can add and remove whatever pieces you want or don't want, and every role can have a slightly different view based on that site's need. Now, at the bottom of the screen, I have 5 tabs. Those will take me through the different portions of the app. We are also accessible via web, so an administrative user or security could use the system via web or mobile app. An end user, meaning an employee, a guest, somebody at that level, doesn't need to have the app at all. They can receive notifications from their administrators and security via text, email, phone call, even social media, and they can even request help via text message. So they don't need to download any apps. Now, starting off on this main screen, this is my SOS. This is where I, as the end user, can request help or report an incident to my administrative team. These alerts can also be routed to whatever teams I want. So for example, if I have medical staff on site, I can have medical go directly to them. Maintenance can go directly to maintenance. Sorry about that. Can go directly to maintenance, whereas the security related things can go to security. In this case, if I want to select one of these icons, which are also customizable, I can have whatever pictures and words I want, as many or as few as you'd like. We even have a site that has a goat icon. So they have apparently a goat problem at their location. But all I do is I select one of these icons, I press send, and this then goes out to my administrative team, and it goes out immediately. I can see here on the administrative end, I have this inbox where all of my alerts come through. And this now allows the administrative team and the person requesting help to enter into a two-way group conversation via group text, group audio call, and I can even live video stream the incident as it's happening. And the system's been designed to be super easy to use because in an emergency, it's tough to navigate things even that you use on a daily basis. So what you see is what you get. I just tap on the icon that I want to begin chatting with, and I start my communication. And this is all done without sharing phone numbers. Once an alert is sent, the person's location is also shared only for the duration of that incident. As Vic mentioned, we're privacy by design. And so only with your consent will we share your location. A couple other things you can do here with these SOS alerts, you can geofence them. So you can set it up so that certain roles can only send an SOS alert requesting help if they're on the premises. So if they're on vacation or on the weekend and they send out an SOS alert, that organization's administrators are not liable for what happens. They don't need to respond. The end user will receive an auto text or a pop-up that tells them that they're out of the geofence, so they know that it hasn't gone through. But that's how the geofences work. You also have the ability to set up anonymous tips, which was heavily requested by a lot of our sites. These will typically get routed to HR. And again, an end user doesn't need to have the app to be able to send out an anonymous tip. They can do that via text as well. And another thing that was requested pretty heavily is the ability to also dial 911 from within the app. And so the way that it works, it takes the same number of buttons that it would take to actually call 911, is we can set it up so that an icon like shooter, once sent, then gives the user a big red button that tells them call 911. If they press that button, they'll be connected in with police dispatch while having an auto text response simultaneously go out to your administrative team, letting them know that you're on the phone with police. So without having to gather any additional information, I know who's sending this alert, I know what the emergency is, and I know where it's coming from, and that it's been escalated to the police level. So then I can then take my necessary actions and warn others and go on lockdown or whatever my procedures would be in the event of something like a shooter incident. So that's the reporting piece. I'm going to bump over into mass notifications. Here you can send out mass broadcast messages with general information and updates about what's happening during a specific incident, lockdowns to just let everybody know the site is on lockdown. You can even physically lock your doors if you have automated door locks via the app, and safety status request, which will allow you to poll your users and ask them if they're okay or not, as well as getting their location so you know where to send help to the people that are unsafe or injured. Starting off with the broadcast messages, you can see they're broken down into two, emergency and regular. The only difference between these two is that emergency broadcast will let you override the sound settings on a person's device. So whether their volume is really low or completely silenced, you can send out this notification at full volume. So if there's something like a fire that's taking place in your building, you can send out emergency broadcast because you don't really care that everyone's phone is making noise and it's loud. Whereas if it was something like a shooter incident, the regular broadcast will adhere to the sound settings so everybody can remain quiet. And again, these are set up exactly the same. I can send out either a voice recorded message if my voice is particularly soothing at that time. I can even include a written description so anyone who's hearing impaired will see that via text. Or I can type a brand new message from scratch, say whatever I want to say, include an attachment, whether that's a photo, video, document, and then I can choose how people receive this. It always will go through the app and web, but I can also select email, text message, auto call. I can even connect to our Facebook, Twitter, and we're even adding Instagram based on heavy requests as well. And then all I do is hit next and choose the roles I want this to go to. The roles are completely customizable as well, depending on the site. So if it's something like a hotel, we were talking about hospitality earlier, you might have a different message go out to your guests as opposed to the one you would send out to your general staff or security team. You can even upload preset messages. So you can have your security team upload a whole bunch of messages for any incident that could ever take place at the site. And then you could have legal clear that message. So in the event of that incident, whoever has the ability to send a mass notification can just tap on this pre-approved message. It fills in my form for me. If I have additional information, I can add it to the message. However, my attachment is there, whether that's a map for evacuating or lockdown protocols. And then I just hit next, choose who I want this to go to, and that's immediately sent out. I've had several different sites when I've demoed the system say, oh, well, that would have been really handy because we had an incident and we had several typos that got pointed out and even broadcasted on the news, which was pretty embarrassing. So here you would have had time to type out your message. It has everything that you want to instruct people to do in that incident, and there's no typos. So that's a cool feature as well. The last two mass notifications, you do have the lockdown. And this is super simple. It's just a very quick way to tell everybody that the site is on lockdown. And again, if you have automated door locks, all I would do is I would select the door locks of that specific wing or that section of the building or the whole building, and those would automatically lock as well. It'll also send everybody text, email, app, and web notification letting them know that you're on lockdown. Now, I know that I mentioned in terms of staff that they can just text their requests for help and they can receive everything via text. Guests are the same. What sites will typically do is they'll either have a text to opt-in code, so that will be posted in different locations where they can text a unique code for that particular site and be enrolled. And you can even set that on an automatic timer. So the site can say, I don't want anybody to be in the system for longer than 48 hours or 72 hours. Otherwise, they have to re-enroll. You can set it up that way. You can even set up QR codes. So all I have to do is scan a code and then I get loaded in. Another way is with hospitality. What they can do is we can link automatically to their check-in system. So when a guest checks in, they're automatically enrolled for the duration of their stay. One final way you can do this is if different companies have their own native app, for example, a stadium or a hotel that has their own hotel or stadium app, they can actually use our SDK to integrate directly into there. So if I'm a guest and I already have that app, if I need help or something's going on and a message is getting sent out, I'll receive it directly via that native app of the organization. So a lot of different ways that you can get into the system, including temporary guests. The last mass notification piece I have here is the safety status request. This is set up just like lockdown. I choose the roles I want this to go to and press send, and that's it. This automatically sends everybody a text, app, and web notification asking them if they're safe or not safe. You can even do custom polling. So you can send out, are you injured? Are you not injured? Or, in the event of the COVID virus, a lot of people are sending out things about quarantine. Have you been quarantined? Are you showing any symptoms? What symptoms are you showing? So totally customizable. In this case, I just want to know if you're safe or not safe. I'm going to go out here into one of these that we had done earlier with some data in it so you can see what it would look like in a real life scenario. Administrative users have this report section. So I can see how everybody has responded, my safe, my not safe, my no replies, and any comments that have been left, including timestamps. I can also see a map view that shows me where they are. And I can see red pins here for not safe, blue pins for safe. I can get directions straight to their locations. And I have different map views here. I have my standard, I have my satellite hybrid view, and I even have my augmented reality view. And this is really cool. So it's just like a camera. And in the bottom right corner, that's like my compass. And I'm the white dot in the center. On the perimeter, you can see these little red and blue dots. That's where all the responses are coming from. And as I pan around, I can see now, okay, this is the direction that I need to start running in, and the distance is about 4.5 miles. Now, something else that's really cool is we also have micro location beacons. If you have those installed, in addition to being able to see distance and altitude and their locations on the standard and satellite maps, I'll see the exact floor and room that they're in, down to a broom closet or back of the house area where you typically would have horrible GPS. So that's something that's really cool as well. And again, this also will only track their location for the duration of the safety status request. And something else that's pretty cool is you can also respond sharing your location via text message. And so what'll happen is whether you are somebody who has not downloaded the app, or you have a really old flip phone or something like that, and you do need help, you can share your location directly from text message, and that aggregates for the administrative users within the app in that map. So now we've gone over the reporting piece, we've gone over the mass notifications, the general messages, lockdowns, and safety status requests. Here you have one unified inbox where you can see all the mass notifications that have come through, the alerts if you're an admin, and the tips. A non-administrative user, and again, it's super customizable, but typically they only have SOS, so the I need help button, and the messages portion of the inbox. So all the notifications that have been sent out to my specific role. And Vic did mention that we have translation. We do have automatic translation. So if your app is already, or sorry, if your phone is already set to a different language, you'll automatically receive the messages within that language. And I can even message back and forth with people in my language. They can be messaging in their language and it'll translate automatically. If I don't have translations already set, I can manually translate this here by tapping on that translate button. So very simple to do. Last couple things I'm going to highlight for you here. You do also have the option to store documents and materials, whether those are evacuation routes or COVID protocols, which I have in here right now, or active shooter things. You can have documents, videos, and they can all be role specific. So in this example, I have this evacuation map that I've only made accessible at all times to admin and security. But let's say now there's a fire in the building and I need everybody to evacuate. I can very quickly broadcast this out by tapping that little arrow. It drops that map into the broadcast form for me. I can tell everybody to refer to the attached, and now immediately I have let everybody know how to evacuate from the building via text message, email, all those different ways. Last couple things I'll highlight for you here is the group chat and our tMed feature. Group chat was something that was also pretty heavily requested. This is a custom group conversation that you can have with specific individuals. So whether you have multiple properties and you want the admins of each of those properties on one consolidated group conversation, or you have like a safety and security chat, which I have right here. This is a group chat without having to share phone numbers. So we can text each other back and forth, again, without sharing numbers. We can include photos, videos, documents, whatever attachments we want to send within this chat. And you can even have a group audio call, just like the SOS, with up to 250 simultaneous callers over both cellular and Wi-Fi. We've had many sites have power outages where their landlines went down. They were still able to communicate here. And you even have two-way video calling via this with up to 50 people at a time, which is more than other platforms, and bridging device types. So right now, if I want to FaceTime with my family members, everybody has to have an iPhone. Android, everyone has to have the same app. With this, we can have people on iPhones, Androids, laptops, tablets, desktops, whatever, all joining in and seeing what's going on in real time around their different campuses. And here, I'm gonna just highlight our hardware for a second. I did mention the micro location beacons. We also have panic buttons. These are very useful in the hospitality sector, where there are actually rules and regulations about housekeepers needing to have panic buttons. We also see a lot of this in healthcare. So specifically in low income areas, what we're hearing is at the reception desks, they have a lot of hostile patients or family members and things like that. And they want a really quick and discreet way of notifying security that they need help. So with this, what you're able to do is I triple click it, and this automatically tells our security team my exact location down to the room, who is sending this alert, and they'll be able to get to me very quickly, very precisely. A really good example of our actually top competitor in this space is, and I'm thinking of one specific example that I got, which I thought was unbelievable, from a hotel and casino. And what they said is they were using this competing product. However, it did not tell them the location of where the person was. It told them generally which side of the hotel it was at. And they had a lot of false alarms. So what they would have to do when they received this, they would have to send their security floor to floor, room to room, to find the housekeeper that pressed that alert. And 85% of the times they were accidental. So just bumping into things here and there, which is bound to happen if you're cleaning a room. Ours takes a deliberate press. It's not difficult to press, but you do have to actually deliberately press it, and it's going to tell you the exact room. That is invaluable, because imagine if you actually needed help, you press this and security went floor to floor, room to room to find you. Not only does that not look good to the guests, that security has to go knocking to find some housekeeper that might have been attacked, but also a lot can happen by the time they actually get to you. So this has been, received very, very well by all the different industries. Vic also mentioned ADA. Hotels have also been giving this to ADA guests. Also different businesses in general, when they have ADA visitors, they've been handing these to them too. If anything were to happen, if they fall or whatever the case may be, and they press this, security team, administrators, whoever it's routed to, automatically knows that it's an ADA guest and where the incident took place, and they can respond to them right away, which has proved to be a really big also for marketing, that they can share this with people so ADA guests feel comfortable and safe coming to their location as opposed to the one down the street.
So just to chime in on what Serene has said at a really high level, and again, the system is built like Legos, so you can have whatever features you want or not have the features you don't want. But at its heart, it allows an individual to request help either via their own app, or they can text message in a short code, or via a panic button. So you have 3 different ways that someone can request help. On the mass notification side, you can send out mass broadcasts, a lockdown, or a safety status inquiry to find, or polling to ask people questions and or see where they are safe or not. You've got a unified inbox where everything comes into one place. You've got emergency materials, documents, etc. And you've got group chatting. And again, these features, first of all, they're more secure than other settings and other platforms. Second, they offer real-time translation. And third, when you're looking at things like this chat, whatever, it works via that mesh networking too. So if the power's out in a building or whatnot, you can run around using the system and it'll still allow you to stay mobilized. Now, because the system is so secure and it is independent from the core infrastructure of any given site, we have also used, when sites have come under ransomware attacks or things like that, we've been used to remobilize the IT infrastructure and remobilize sites. So you can use as much or as little or as few of the systems as you want. And the other thing I'll mention as well is our micro-location technology is so good that while it's sold as an emergency communication platform, we are also the only emergency communication platform that is also revenue generating. We have a number of sites that have taken pieces of our, what we refer to as APIs, SDKs, and they've incorporated it into portions of their own app, whether it's a football stadium, whether it's a casino, whether it's a school, a hotel, whatever. And with that, they're able to use some of our key technologies, including location services. To give you an idea of how good our technology is there, the FCC has requested 3 meters vertical accuracy 2 years from now. We're able to do 1 meter instead of 3, 1 meter. And so what that means for sites is if you incorporate a piece of our app into your native app, whatever it is, maybe your movie theater app, whatever it is, hospital app, we can then give you directions, through the augmented reality and or help guide you to various things inside your site, whether it's a concession stand, whether it's a bathroom, whatever it is. Furthermore, if you're in the native app, if someone is hanging out by, say the Tiffany store at Caesar's Palace, or you're hanging out by the bar at a Marriott, something like that,
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely been received really well. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just show you really quickly the tMed portion of the app as well. This is something that's been received extremely well, especially right now. We have a lot of providers. We've been inundated with calls and emails from providers that are having to, frankly, just shut down because the examples we're getting is, you know, I used to see 50 patients a day and now everybody's canceling. I'm down to 4 and I can't keep my doors open. I can't keep my staff employed. So what they're able to do with the tMed portion of the app, and this can be integrated also with the security system, just going back here, I, as this admin, do have the tMed app here. So if you're something like an event venue or a stadium is an example that Vic mentioned, or even a school that has medical staff on site or that's employed by you, you can have any kind of medical alerts routed into the medical provider for your site. If you are a medical office, what you can do is you can enroll all of your patients so that they can do visits with you virtually, as opposed to having to go into the office, potentially infect additional people. And it's proven to be really well. I'm going to just log in here as a patient. And I'll show you both ends of this. In addition, it actually costs less per visit than the cost of PPE for just one in-person patient visit. So it's cost effective, it's keeping people safe, and it's keeping businesses open. So as you can see, the patient view is really simple. I have this inbox where I'm receiving the personalized messages from my provider's office, including personalized videos, updates with health tips and things like that, updated office hours. Those are the kinds of things that we know it's been used for. And I have this tMed button where I can start a consult. All I have to do at the time of my visit is click consult, and I am now placed into my provider's virtual waiting room. I'm gonna bump over into the provider view now, and I'm gonna show this on the web portal. The mobile app is accessible to medical providers as well, and a lot of them do use iPad, but most of them we found use the web console. So now what I have is, it's been designed to be super simple. I have my waiting room, I have the section for treating patients. So here's where we can see all the patients treating in our clinic and who they're treating with. And we have the section of discharged patients, including the history of that visit. I can record the video if I want, so that's all there for us. Here, if I want to start my visit, all I do is I tap on the patient's name. I decide if I want to begin recording or not. In this case, I'm not going to. And now I can see myself. I'm waiting for the patient to join the call as well. I'm going to mute myself here. And so now we're entered into this two-way video call. Something else that's cool is that we start off with HD video. Most of the competitors don't have HD at all, or if they do, you have to go in, find the setting to set it, and typically it doesn't work anyways. A lot of the other systems, from what we've heard, is they'll just drop off. So the connection is really poor. They can't maintain a constant video stream the whole time. They get kicked off, have to hop back in. So we've been hearing of a lot of issues. You can maintain a text conversation here as well. So as the patient, if I'm in my waiting room, I can write out all my symptoms, what I'm here for in advance, or we can communicate back and forth, share attachments with each other, tips, stretches, depending on the provider. I can also view the location of the patient once that's sent, so I can ensure I'm not practicing over state lines. And if some sort of emergency were to happen, if the patient falls, hits their head or anything like that, I know where I need to send help to. We can end the visit, place the patient on hold, send them back to the waiting room, or reassign to another provider. So most clinics, urgent cares, things like that, they'll have a nurse or a PA actually check in with the patient before the doctor sees them. So I'll tell them my symptoms, everything like that. This allows them to maintain their regular workflow and keep that going. You can also have multiple providers join a visit at a time. So if you have multiple specialists working on a particular patient, they can all join the call at the same time. In this case, I'm just going to end the visit. And that's it. It's been designed to be super simple right now and all the time. Providers don't really want a system that's really convoluted that they have to learn and integrate their other existing systems with. This allows you to maintain the way that your practice is normally run and just allows you to have a reliable connection to your patients so that they can continue to see you while they're at home. You can also, of course, send out those personalized messages to them, and you can upload different documents and materials that you want them to have at all times. Enrollment is another reason that people love us, is extremely simple. All I do is I can import all of my patients and staff here with an Excel file, click send invite email, and that's it. They all get an email telling them what tMed is, that they've been enrolled, how to log in, and how to use the system. Although most people don't end up using those instructions because it's so intuitive that if you've ever used an app, you just open it up and it's pretty clear to see what you need to do. So as far as the demos, that's it. We'd love to take the time to dive in deeper into any features that I may have gone a little too quickly over, or that you're particularly interested in, or answer any questions that you might have.
This is Ed Hughes. I've got a real quick question. Can you just basically give a typical example of how this might work in, you know, just a basic hotel? So you have a 100-room hotel and 40 staff in there. What if we were providing this to our, what kind of services could they normally, what would be a basic thing? What would you normally want to tell them that would be great for them? I mean, obviously,
There's a few different things that we do for the hotels.
Yeah.
The most common use cases in the hotels come down to whether you're referring to staff or to guests. If you're talking about staff, the most common use of it is the panic button feature. And that actually is mandated by a lot of states now, and more increasing. You know, the reason why our system is so great there is, first of all, it is very hard to trigger a false alarm in our system. With other systems, on the sites that were getting a few dozen false alarms per month. And on top of that, because they didn't know where it was from, like ours, it tells you what room it's coming from. So not only are you getting false alarms, which our system doesn't throw, but then you don't know what room it's coming from. So you're running through 100 different hotel rooms trying to find who it is who's been assaulted. And more often than not, I'm thinking, but no one was assaulted. So you're just knocking down doors. So that's a common use case for us. Another common use case is giving it as an ADA accessible button to guests who are coming in. To the hotels that have events and conferences, they generally put a QR code or a short code that you can text message to enroll via phone number. You don't even have to have the app. And that way the hotel can send mass notifications to them. Hey, parking's impacted. The event is going long, this, that, whatever. So those are probably the three most common use cases of it. The other one that's pretty heavily used in hospitality sites is medical. So depending on where the hotel is, what's going on, if there's drug overdoses, that Narcan button gets used pretty heavily. Alternatively, it's used to coordinate responses. So those are the most common day-to-day uses, medical and non-medical, of the platform in a hotel setting.
And piggybacking off that with medical, something that I've heard from several of our clients is that they do have guests fall quite often, whether they're fainting or they tripped over something. And what one specific hotel that I'm thinking of, resort actually, was saying that most of the time they're too embarrassed to want to get an ambulance. And I guess it's the hotel's protocol that's what they do. They call an ambulance if you fall and they think you're injured. And so most guests just get up and walk away. With this, what you're able to do is you're able to timestamp when it happened, what actions you tried to take. So if in the event that later in the evening something worse happens to that patient, maybe it wasn't just, you know, I just fainted and it was no big deal because I was hungry, but something more serious was going on, then you have that documentation of the actions that you at least attempted to take. And if you have tMed, something else that's really great is you can actually have the medical provider tell you what to do. They can give you their opinion and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, they just need to, I don't know, rest or eat something. Whereas they could also say, no, you know what? This looks like it's a serious thing. We need to call an ambulance, or someone needs to drive them to the hospital. Then the liability is also lifted off of the hotel staff and then put on the medical provider, which is a really big selling point as well. And I can see we have one question in the chat from Yvonne about the tMed web portal. Live translations.
Hey, Serene, can I just chime in for a second with the example you were giving? By the way, just one more thing is, in speaking with medical, we also have a lot of hotels and a lot of enterprise that uses the system as a requirement for any work comp injury. So now you've automatically created a time-stamped, geolocated incident report with location, pictures, video, messaging, and everything. So it can help fight fraudulent work comp claims. So that's another heavy use of it in that hospitality sector. Now, while we're saying work comp, it could also be used, of course, if a guest slips or falls or something like that. To the point Serene said, to get care, but also to demonstrate the level of the injury or lack thereof that actually happened, so that there's not a fraudulent claim later on. So with that, Serene, sorry, I'll send it back to you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I didn't really break between those sentences. Live translations. Yes, our tMed system also includes live translations, as well as the emergency system. And that's actually a really cool thing, because no other telemedicine platform has real-time translation. The closest thing to it would be having to schedule a translator to join the call with you, which you can do with ours as well. However, with a lot of the sites, especially things like urgent cares, or just providers that don't necessarily, where the patient doesn't really want to pay for a translator, they're able to log in right away, see the doctor, and translate in real time what the issues are, as well as videoing in to see what the injury is, whether it's pink eye or swollen ankle, or whatever the case may be.
What other questions might be out there?
And in terms of, while we wait for questions, in terms of selling the system, it really is, it's not that difficult. I mean, 2/3 of our customers have actually switched to us from competing system when they've completely failed or just haven't worked quite as promised. And in today's world, these aren't things that are, oh, maybe that would be nice to have at some point. Mass communication is a must for any business. You have to have a way to be able to warn people if something's going on. Disasters are inevitable, unfortunately, whether they're natural disasters or man-made. And so being able to quickly warn people of what's going on can save lives, can save damage to property. It's just, it's a must. And so our system is the most reliable. No other system out there has the mesh networking. So that's, I mean, if you comprehend that, that's being able to work when nothing else works. It's pretty incredible. We've taken military grade technology and put it into everybody's pocket that has a smartphone.
So this will work on, this is Ed Hughes again, this will work on an Apple, it'll work on a, I don't know all the very brands out there, because I've got an iPhone.
It'll work on, it'll work on any Apple or Android device with an asterisk, like 99.999%. I mean, you might find one that it doesn't work on, but every Apple iPhone that is out there works. With Android, there's literally tens of thousands of different models. So, but it works across all the Samsungs, the LGs, like anything that's common, it works on.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm seeing a couple questions here. One of them, if somebody has an account under a different parent company, a company under a parent company, yeah, they would be able to see all of them under their one login. So you don't have to log in and log out to see your different sites and get the notifications from them and request help from all of them. You'll see exactly who they're coming from under one unified app. So it's very easy. You never have to log out. Something else that's pretty cool that specifically staff employees really like is it takes like no battery usage. If you look at the battery usage, and we run demos all day long, in your settings app, it takes less than 1%, which is pretty incredible considering all these other kind of silly apps take up a lot of usage. Instagram probably takes up the most of my usage. Well, actually Mail does. So, and then I'm seeing another question. During a panic response or incident, are you able to take a photo and upload? Yes, absolutely. Not only can you take a photo and upload it into your just general documents and materials, but you can mass broadcast it out to whatever roles you want. So, and speaking of photo, something that's actually pretty common is a missing child. So whether it's an event or a hotel or, you know, whatever business where you might have guests, if a child goes missing, typically what will happen is the parent will let the security know, hey, I can't find my kid. I turned around, he was gone. And what they'll do is security will take a photo of the child on their parent's phone and blast that out to all employees and security members. And it's able to allow them to basically have eyes and ears everywhere. And so we've heard from hotels and also schools with specifically special ed students, they're able to find them in a fraction of the time that it would take had they not had the ability to mass broadcast the photo. And as you can tell from the examples, there's just an infinite ways that this can be used. Any kind of issue that you can think of, this will be able to speed up the time in which you get it resolved.
And Serena, I'm seeing a couple more questions. I'm going to dive in and answer those real fast. I see Dave is asking, has this been used on large construction projects? Yes, it's actually used at the LA Stadium construction project. And so that obviously is a massive, massive construction project. And they've been using that there for quite some time, and then we'll be using it moving forward once the stadium opens. And there they've used it for many things from dehydration alerts to medical, et cetera, without getting into too many of the specifics. And then I see Tim has asked a question, will this app help with social distancing in the workplace? Yeah, you can definitely use it for that, because what you can do is you can send out, so there's two different ways you can do this. First, you could actually have different maps and like seating charts and things like that, or cubicles or whatever it is, and designate, hey, you have to be sitting every other one or things like that, as well as sending out mass notifications. And by sending out mass notifications, you can direct and instruct them how to operate. You can also use the polling feature to find out how many people are coming in on any day, or just ask any custom question and have people provide their responses, and it aggregates all of those answers. And so that way you're able to see, you know, what the responses are, how many people are coming in, what they're doing. So, so that's another piece of that as well too. I'm also seeing another question about concerns with Zoom and how, and Titan. So let me dive into that. Zoom, as you guys may know, has a whole set of issues, just to highlight some of them, which you may or may not know about. They are under federal, state, and FBI investigations. They sold data to Facebook. They ran servers through China where all the data was accessed. They had employees accessing the data. They stated they were end-to-end encrypted, but were actually not encrypted. The list goes on and on and on. We do not have any of those issues for a few different reasons. First of all, we are privacy by design. And so by being privacy by design, we don't share, sell data, anything like that, because it's not part of our business model. Second, we're independently audited by one of the same entities, as I mentioned, that also audits the FBI and CIA for data security. So we're above and beyond the level of security that other platforms have. And lastly, well, I guess those kind of cover the point. So those are the answers I would give to that.
That's great. Thank you very much, Vic, for answering the questions. We appreciate all the time you guys have devoted to this, and look forward to hopefully have a nice, strong partnership with Zurich. To let everybody out there know, I've been named as one of the champions for this, and if you have additional issues, you feel free to send me an email. I've got information on Titan I can send you. Plus, you can also contact Titan direct if you've got questions or issues. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to work with you in any way they can.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Well, thanks again. Thanks everybody for the questions and for tuning in, and everybody be very safe out there, maintain your distance, and hopefully we'll all be back at work here on May 1st. Keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Take care. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.